I'm
Okay.
sorry. You had to get dressed all over. See how they show all everybody's pictures.
Got it.
All right. So again, we're going to remind people that if you're not presenting, to please keep yourself muted and use the chat feature for asking questions. Miss Amber will be monitoring that and continuing to monitor the waiting room. And I will share my screen so we have our slide deck up. All right, Daniel?
Okie doke.
Can you see that?
Yes, we can see the slides.
Excellent. All right, so
Just a moment. Sorry about that, just blocking a little feedback. Hello, welcome everyone to our annual meeting. I'm going to keep my remarks as short as possible to indicate my respect for your time and your attention here. And we just lost the slideshow for a moment.
because you are spotlighted since you're
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. Welcome, everyone. This is our annual meeting. We will be showing you what sort of wonderfulness the congregation Share Torah is doing with you, and perhaps if you're not quite so close around you, you'll get a moment to meet our new board and say goodbye to some dear friends who've served the congregation for many years. And we'll also review the budget and several different little matters of operations that we'll take you through. So again, welcome. I'd like to hand the screen over to Rabbi Oren, who will have a word of Torah for us. And you're muted, Rabbi.
That has to happen. Every meeting, right? Has to happen. I'm really excited to see you all and be able to share a bit afternoon. I arrived in Portland on June 26, 2021. So it's exactly 1 year since I got here, and it's hard to believe that a year has passed already. And I recall very clearly, did I freeze for a second? We okay? I recall driving up from California and being so excited to join the Share Torah family because of, as many of you know, I found Judaism that really lit a fire and guides my life in a shul very similar to Congregation Share Torah, right? Similar in size, about the same number of families, similar in good-heartedness of its people and its members, similar in the kinds of bonds forged and maintained in a very special place, because it's a place where people are seen and then celebrated for what they are. And certainly for me, that a community, surrounded me with care and could see me far before I could see me. And you know that in my career, I've worked in big synagogues, and when thinking about returning to community work, pulpit, I was searching for a spiritual home. It was more like the place where I found the Torah that was alive for me, where I could really know the members of the community and they could know me. And we could journey through life's ups and downs together. And part of my decision making that led me to that is a teaching by a 20th century Jewish philosopher. His name is Franz Rosenzweig. He was doing a lot of thinking about how Jewish community would not only survive but thrive in a modern world where Jews were free to do as they pleased, including not doing, right? Including, no one making us do Jewish life. So what he taught was that Judaism becomes essential and necessary when it facilitates encounters with the sacred. So what he would say is when our people are touched by Kedusha, they're touched, they encounter holiness. And what he thought was that in a pre-modern world, before people had individual rights and before citizenship, before secular democracy, that for our people, for most of our history, these types of encounters, the core, the place you found holiness, was in holy scrolls and books, like black letters written in scrolls and books, and then they would make their way into the heart of a particular Jew. But he taught that in our world, in the modern world, the world that we're in, choice, holiness needs a new starting place. That holiness, he said, starts in every Jewish heart, and then needs to be connected back to black letters and scrolls of books. And he understood that kedusha, that holiness is on both holy books, but equally in each and every Jewish person. And that's why it's so important to have institutions like ours, to have communities like ours, where it is so important to see each other and to know each other, and share experiences with each other. And that's something that has been very hard to do. I mean, I don't need to tell you during COVID, but even since reopening and all that, it still has bumps, right? So we're still emerging out of that world. So these annual meetings are an opportunity to look back at the year that was and dream about the future that we will create. And I'm thankful that so many of you opened your hearts and that I've been able to share in meaningful moments of Jewish living with you. I'm thankful for all the regular acts of kindness, thousands and thousands of them. And I'm thankful for all the sweet moments during davening together. And I'm thankful for the life cycle moments I've been a part of, like baby namings and brit milah and bar mitzvah, and conversion of some students and special birthdays and with families in times of mourning. And I'm thankful for the holidays that we've shared together. And I'm thankful, very appreciative and thankful for the continued welcome that you've shown me, my family. And I can't believe it's a year, and it feels like I just arrived and there's still so much to do in an ever-changing world. And like I said, we're still emerging from this COVID pandemic, and I know that some are still very careful in how they engage with the community. And we also have learned that community connections are really important and add so much to our lives. And our community is a little bit different than some. It plays an important and necessary role in that our mission is different from other social institutions, right? Our Shari Torah creates community around meaning and growth and kindness, and ultimately, like Rosenzweig taught, around kedusha, around holiness. So in order to do that, we're going to be experimenting with new ways for us to gather now that we can. Education for adults and kids, social events, arts and culture opportunities, a lot more regular acts of kindness. And we encourage you to dream too, to feel empowered to create meaningful opportunities for connection. And we have the ability and the mindset to try new things and to bring back things that worked in the past. And I know that there's more to come. And I know that we need you. We need your input, and we need your wisdom, and we need presence, we need your laugh, we need your voices, right? We need your hugs when things are hard. So before I conclude, I would be remiss if I didn't thank the leadership of our board members during this past year, and all through COVID, but especially this year with this transition. I thank you for everything that you've done, and I'm grateful every day for our small but mighty office team, and all the hard work that they do, to Jemmy and Linda and Leslie, Alexi and Arena and more. And then I just want to extend a very special thank you to Dr. Sharon Poland, very gracefully guided our kids this year. And most rewarding parts of this past year for me have been the opportunities to begin meaningful relationships with so many of you. And those relationships have been forged while we're engaged in some of the most meaningful and most ancient commitments of our people. And all I can add to that as we think about the year to come is I can't wait for even more to happen the next year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi. I think the next item, slide 5, that's Jemmy, there we go. Okay.
So just kind of go quickly through some of what's been going on in the shul. Many of you know, since the people I see on screen are the people who are around a lot. It's been another good year, and I apologize in advance for these like weird bars that are on my screen. I will see if I can make those go away. There. So, I mean, in a hybrid mode, we continue, as Rabbi said, to figure out how we can gather and what we can do. Morning Minyan on Zoom has actually opened up doors for me as well as a lot of other people who would not be normal millionaires, but it's given an opportunity to meet a lot of people and spend time in a Zoom room with people I normally wouldn't have a chance to do. And it's become very, very special to me and to a lot of other people. And now that it's hybrid on Sunday, now that we've got people in the chapel on Sunday, it's a nice mix of being able to do some parts of the service that we previously couldn't. For those who study with Rabbi Oren on Fridays in Torah study, you know how popular it is. We keep having to shift rooms to make sure there's enough space for everybody and tank. And being able to join it, in a hybrid fashion is very engaging for a lot of people. Our Shabbat services attendance continues to grow, especially since we have Shabbat luncheons back. We have our nice core group and a lot of new faces, and we've had some recent visitors who were coming out of the Oregon Board of Rabbis Introduction to Judaism class, some of Rabbi's recent new members of the tribe, some of his students, and it's nice to include them in the service. So if you haven't been coming, please do come. And if you've been watching on the live stream, we appreciate when you comment on Facebook or send us emails and just let us know you're there. Sacred Grounds Coffee Cart. I can't really see who's going to raise hands, but I get my coffee every week. I think this was one of the greatest ideas to ever come from Southern California. Thank you, Rabbi, for spearheading, making this possible, ordering the cart, testing out all those different kinds of mugs, making sure that the lids stay on, and to Alexi and Irina and Linda for stocking it and giving us a delicious drinky option on Shabbat mornings. The young adults group has continued to be active with their monthly happy hours and their Shabbat gatherings, first virtual and now in person as the weather is nice. Shabbat Fusion at the Eastside Jewish Commons. I want to point out that we are the first, and I think still the only West Side congregation to be holding any type of worship service over in that space. There are other congregations that use that space for tutoring or for meetings, but we are the first to be having a service there. And it's been a very popular and door opening and community opening opportunity for a lot of people. We're on a little pause during the summer, but we will be holding Shabbat Fusion in the park at Laurelhurst Park on August 4th, 8th, whatever. It's in August, so you'll see about that, but it'll be the same type of service, just in the park. Rabbi mentioned the regular acts of kindness. Please, please, please do continue to share with us how you give a little bit of yourself to the world, all the sweet things that people do. We continued, even though the religious school was meeting in person, with some online electives, which were very popular. Alex was teaching Jewish Dungeons and Dragons, which is a thing and was enjoyed by many students. He was also teaching a beginner's Hebrew. Miss Amber was teaching fiber crafting. And Dr. Sharon had her weekly story time, which was well attended. Our little grassroots Talmud study group is back again now on Mondays at 11:30. They study tirelessly and then come visit us, which is nice. Amber continues to teach but gather for yarn crafting every other week online, and it would be great to see some of those wonderful creations. And as I mentioned, Shabbat lunches, yay! We all love the opportunity to eat together in convivium. Let's see if I can go to the next slide. All right, but that's not all. We had Scholar Stream learning opportunities. The Chesed volunteers continue to check in on people, meal deliveries in time of need. Make sure that people are not forgotten and are kept connected. And the Refuah Shlema cards, if Melissa Cohen doesn't scoop them all up and take them away, there's an opportunity for everybody on a weekly basis to send some love to the community. This year's holiday season or cycle, we were really able to do more in person with our high holiday services, well attended even with our limited capacity. The Sukkah building was loads of fun, and actually streaming from the Sukkah was pretty nifty. You got surprise Hanukkah goodie bags. We had Hanukkah candle lightings every night. Again, the magic of Zoom, we can gather virtually. And our very Zoomy Hanukkah party with musical guests was fun. The Hamantashen Project, even on a limited basis, brought wonderful smells and sounds and faces and sights back into the shul. Our in-person Purim party was really a triumph, since in 2020, that was our last big gathering And so to bring it back, it was, again, nice to see faces in the shul. And then our full Megillah reading was well attended. And just recently for Shavuot, we participated in the Torah from Coast to Coast through United Synagogue. And then Rabbi Oren led a lovely evening, late evening teaching followed by Havdalah. So we still do things. We reach people. Our census, our memberships numbers have stayed stable, which is wonderful. Rabbi Oren has been meeting as many people, everybody, as he can, and will continue to do so. Our Chesed group, as I mentioned, kept us connected. Our attendance continues to grow. Our viewership is strong, and the minyanim continue to have a broad appeal. So if we're going to break down our numbers, this is the age range, and still our largest group is 65 to 79. We've had a net loss of 3 members, so we've had 9 new who have joined over the years since July of 2021. We did have some deaths in the congregation, and then we had 7 who resigned. So it's still, when I was putting these numbers in, it's almost identical to what last year was in terms of how many have died, how many have resigned or moved away. So people are still joining. We've had actually a kind of a flurry of joins since the beginning of the calendar year, and very active people that we're loving getting to know. And the participation has been strong, which we are always thrilled to see. Let's see. Daniel, I am going to let you take over now. Unless, Amber, are there any questions that popped up in chat since I can't really see it at the moment?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, so Daniel, if you will take my spotlight off, if I'm spotlighted, hand it over to Daniel. He can talk about the board of directors and our nominations.
Am I audible? Okay. I am so eager to and delighted to introduce to you new board members. We have Trevor Bryant. Trevor moved to Portland just a couple of years ago, and I had the great honor of welcoming him and spending quite a few kiddish lunches with him when he got here, before he had all the wonderful friends he now has. And I guess I still get to see him too now, but Trevor is an amazing person, and that's bizarre. Trevor's an amazing person, and you should really take an opportunity to know him. He's an avid traveler. He wanders the United States and the world, and sends back very interesting photos on Facebook. He moved here, like I said, he moved here in 2019 to work at Intel in the finance department, and he grew up near Louisville. Yes, I pronounced that right. Louisville, Kentucky, and has moved around the country, and he has an undergraduate degree at Purdue in chemical engineering, and he was a co-op student before graduating in 2010, and he moved to Knoxville, Tennessee. So I kind of feel like he's stalking me, because I was at Knoxville, Tennessee just about this a little bit earlier then, and now Trevor was there, and now he's here with us. So he was actively involved in his shul in the 3 years in Knoxville and 5 years in Houston, Texas, and congratulations on your escape, and 2 years in Bloomington, Indiana, while finishing his MBA at the Indiana University Kelley School of Business in 2019. Trevor's been active in at least a dozen shuls over the course of his travel and multiple relocations, and he enjoys getting to see the similarities and differences among the communities and what each of them uniquely offers. He was drawn to the warmth of the Sherry Torah community and is proud to call Congregation Sherry Torah his home shul. In his free time, Trevor enjoys hiking, traveling, playing tennis and table tennis, and serving as a BBYO advisor for Portland's oldest chapter, Saul Stern, AZA number 65. Trevor's a wonderful guy. Get to know him. He's amazing. There is, I think there should be the slide should also have a photo of another new board member, Sue Hickey and Sheldon Clapper. You can see they're sharing a seat there. in the picture, and they are sharing a seat on our board. So they've been married for 40 years, and they've been active members of Sherry Torah for over 2 times high years. They've been each or both members of Sherry Torah and other Jewish community agency boards, and active members of numerous Sherry Torah committees, particularly fundraising and renovation committees. And they also support and sponsor many local and international Jewish agencies and causes and events, and they're dedicated supporters of Israel. Sue spends most days gardening and painting and bird feeding and bird watching and novel reading, and they both spend time daily walking in different Portland neighborhoods or hiking out in the Central Oregon mountains in the high chaparral environment around their cabin. Shelley spends most of his days reading current events and getting upset, building wood furniture and sculptures, and restoring and appreciating old cars and trucks. And the list of Shelley's and Sue's career and professional accomplishments is way too long for me to indicate here. Let's just say that we are pleased to have the opportunity to once again bring whatever strategic and operational and marketing and management expertise and experience, both the successes and the very rare failures, and their biases and their talents and everything that they bring to us to Sherry Torah's board. I believe the next slide has a photo of Sarah Staggs. There she is. Hi, Sarah. Sarah has served our board for 2 terms since 2018, and she's held the vice president position since 2020, and she's chaired the youth education committee. Somebody's not muted. Sarah's chaired the youth education committee, as well as working with Darren and Rafi on the futures committee. In early 2020, she oversaw the national search for our new education director, but of course the COVID pandemic kind of derailed that project. But we are so grateful to Sarah for all her work on the board and for her expertise and her wise commentary and her brilliance in understanding how organizations work and how people work, and her advocacy for families and parents and their children. And we're very much going to miss Sarah's contribution on the board. Slide 12. Next slide. Here is our new slate of officers and directors on the board. You can see, I don't really need to read to everyone, but I'll go ahead and do it, that our new board members are Trevor and the Hickey and Clapper combo. Melissa Cohen and I will continue a second term on the board, with other directors continuing their two-year term include Eva Selnick, Mitch Cohen, Allison Fowler, Darren Horwitz, Peter Lyman, and Rafi Rosenblatt. And as I mentioned before, Sarah Staggs is retiring from the board this year. We have this, I believe, is this where I presented up for the vote, or?
Right, so we're going to launch the poll now.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. You should be able to see this up on your screens.
Yeah, everybody should have a poll on your screen to accept or reject this slate of board members. And I'm going to go ahead and submit my response, and I urge you to do the same.
Okay. Okay, somebody is playing in the whiteboard again. Amber, can you find out who that is and please boot them out? Sorry, there's some Zoom bombing going on. And we're at 86% voting, just a few more people.
I love technology.
I love it too. It's been a long time since this has happened. All right, so with 88% participating, we are at 100, of those who participated, we are at yays for accepting our board of directors.
Great.
Okay, so
Thank you, everyone, for supporting your board, and your board will continue to support you. I believe the next item on the agenda is slide 14, youth education. I'll hand the spotlight back over to Rabbi.
Oh, I'm spotlighted. Thank you so much. Yeah, youth education. So I met with, I had the opportunity and privilege to meet with all of the current parents and work with the help of Sharon, create really affirm what the religious school calendar and timing was going to look like for next year. What we kind of settled into this year seemed to work for most parents. So there's going to be, the plan is right now that we have 3 classes, a K1 class, a 2-3 class, and a 4-5 class. They would meet 3 Sundays a month and then 1 Shabbat morning a month, just like they did this year. I can share with you that we have been searching for an education director for a little bit of time now. We have a part-time position that has been listed. We haven't had as much response as we would have liked, but we do have a couple responses in just the last few days that we'll be reviewing this week in the hopes of finding the right person and to guide our kids in youth education for the holidays and things like that. So the religious school is going to kind of continue in the way that it was this year. And then some exciting news is we also, with the help of Dr. Poland, I created something I'm calling the Mensch Academy. It's a 6th and 7th grade program for kids leading up to B'nai Mitzvah. So any rising 6th and 7th graders. The program is meant to, it really focuses, meets every other Wednesday night. We feed them, and then they have some time to learn together, and it really focuses on becoming A+ people, right? That they put a lot of effort into their school to do well and those kind of things. And we want them to be great human beings, of course. And so the program parallels what they would be doing to prepare for B'nai Mitzvah. So they'd be working with a private tutor to learn the prayers that they need to learn, or brush up on their Hebrew or things like that. And we'll be studying we're going to be studying ways in which we can be the best kind of people that we can be. That program is open to anyone in Portland, any rising 6th and 7th grader that's interested in having a bar or bat or b mitzvah. That's open to them, and I hope that we attract some new folks with that. The other part of this program is there's just a changing reality to the world that we live in, and a kind of one-size-fits-all program doesn't really meet the needs of many folks. So as part of this program, I will be meeting with each family individually and then creating, I called it a tefillah study plan, but their ceremony might look different. In fact, I've already had one family, so it could look like what we saw this past Shabbat, where a child comes on a Shabbat morning and leads us in lots or less or something, some parts of the Shabbat morning service, and is a part of that communal experience. But it could be somebody that's on Saturday night. It could be somebody that wants to do it on a Monday or a Thursday when we read Torah. And I've already had a first family that has a daughter who's very, very, very shy. It's very shy and so terrified about standing in front of the community that she just was refusing to do anything. And we are going to do a service on a Monday in her backyard. That's what we're going to do for her. And we'll have a minyan there, and we'll be able to craft it in a way that the child will be able to be seen and celebrated, like I said before. So you can share that news all around with folks that we're launching this program. Hopefully it's going to come out in some publicity, and then we're going to what's the Jewish Review and the Jewish Review soon, and then we'll be advertising for it as well to try to bring some new families and new students to the Mensch Academy, which both of those programs will be launching just before the high holidays. That's what I got.
Thank you, Rabbi. So one slide you didn't get to see is at the close. This is up on the screen now, the closing dinner back in May. So adorable children doing adorable things and sharing what they've learned, which they wouldn't have been able to do if it weren't for, come on slide, Dr. Sharon Poland, who so graciously, when she came back to Portland, agreed to come out of what she thought was going to be retirement to craft our program and lead our program during these crazy couple of years, which we appreciate so much. And to give a little tribute or a little thanks to her on behalf of the parents and the board, I'm going to spotlight Eva Selnick, and I'm going to share the spotlight with Dr. Sharon. So Eva, please share.
Okay, I've been trying to unmute myself. Sorry about that. Taking a little long. Hi, Dr. Sharon. I just want to say on behalf of the board and also all the parents and children of the school, I want to express our appreciation. You were so engaged in excellent content for all the classes, and you did such amazingly fun stuff for Shabbat services. It made my kids want to go and all the other kids really excited and happy to be there. And we really wish you all the best in your future pursuits. And if we're lucky, you'll give us special guest performance for a Shabbat or two next year. Thank you again for everything you put into the program. You made it A+.
Thank you so much for those lovely words, and it's been my pleasure.
Did you want to share anything else with us, Dr. Sharon? You're welcome to.
We're having a little bit of a toddler meltdown.
Okay.
If you'll excuse me for one moment, I'm going to close the door. Her mommy's here. I'm not just leaving her out on the doorstep. Not just putting out the puppy. It was really sweet for me personally to come back to Shari Torah, which was the site where I began my professional leadership, life in Jewish education, and to see how much the incredible devotion of Jemmy and Rabbi Oren and Rabbi Rose before him, the incredible board, and the members who are really striving and to create and recreate something that is meaningful and beautiful and of value. And I had the opportunity last night to lead a women's Havdalah, which was so important and rich for me in this time of profound shift in our country and what that might mean. And the thing that I came back to was what Rabbi Tarfon said, which is Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor velo ata ben chorin mimena. You're not obligated to complete the work, but neither should you run away from it. And that even in times of change and shift in our personal lives, in our communal lives, in the lives of our culture, we have so much to stand on. We have such an incredible treasure chest from which to choose, and how fortunate we are to be standing on the shoulders of so many wise people who came before us. And I'm really delighted that Shari Torah wants to continue and expand the education program, because I think that it's critical to everything about who we are as human beings, and for our children to be bequeathed the riches of our tradition. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate, and I only wish you every success from strength to strength as the shul goes forward. And I'd love to be a special guest. I'll just have to buy more candy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharon. And on behalf of the congregation, I don't know if you're at home or at the grandkids' house, but something is being delivered to you today on behalf of the congregation as a little token of our thanks, and just so special to be able to work with you again. So we're at that point in the meeting, everyone's favorite point, when we'll be talking about financials. Amber, if you can find Peter and spotlight him, I will be running through the slides as he gives direction.
Okay. Can everyone hear me? Jemmy?
You're good.
I can hear you.
Okay. I have to be a little patient with me. My eyesight's not what it used to be in the old days. But let's look at this first slide here, which basically just summarizes the level of generosity on the part of our congregants, and it's really quite impressive, given what the environment was for all of us the last year or so. If I did my math correctly, if you add all of those up, our members, between dues, Yom Kippur pledges, donations, whatnot, contributed about $550,000 to the shul last year, which was an incredible showing of support for this shul. So if you look at just the dues collected, and given our current count of about 200 dues paying members, the average dues contribution alone is $1,600, which is very good. Okay, why don't we go to the next slide, Jimmy? Okay, so this is our current results as we project to the end of the year. We think about when the budget from last year was presented. We presented a provisional budget showing a fairly substantial deficit, I think of about $125,000, with the promise that we would come back at the end of the second Q2 or fiscal quarter, so sometime in January, to present a revised a budget and make adjustments as we go along at that midpoint. And that was primarily due to the uncertainty surrounding COVID. And we will be doing the same this year. We'll be presenting a provisional budget for 2022, 2023, again, with the caveat that we come back before the congregation in January to present an adjusted budget based on the first 6 months of results. The good news here is that it appears that we are going to finish the year with a slight surplus. Our initial budget was showing, I think, a deficit of about 121,000, and it looks like right now somewhere we'll finish somewhere with I would say $0 to $25,000 surplus. But let's talk a little bit about the drivers. So we got through the year in good shape, and we get to play the game again. But I want to emphasize, when we look at next fiscal year's budget, we've got some real challenges ahead of us. Why did we do so well this year? What were the primary drivers where we ended up positive as opposed to a negative projection in our budgeting? Basically two things. One was the largesse of the government, US government. We got our second PPP loan of $130,000 that converted into a grant. And the second thing was a meaningful reduction in expenses vis-a-vis the budget because of the low level of activity taking place in the shul, right? Fewer programming, less intensive use of the physical plant, so less maintenance and so forth. So the two large drivers were that PPP loan and kind of a muted level of activity. We're going to have neither of those next year going forward. There'll be no loans, and we've already started ramping up our activities, and those will bring additional costs. Liquidity wise, at the end of the year, we're in good shape. Jackie informed me that I think as of June 2nd or June 8th, we have about $333,000 in our savings and checking accounts. So as far as liquidity goes, at the end of the year, we're in good shape. Next slide, please. Again, we trot this slide out every year, and no surprises that the bulk, roughly 60% of our expenses are with personnel, then professional services and so forth. So enough, the distribution here of expenses hasn't really changed over the last 3 or 4 years. So next. Okay, so here we have kind of a summary of what Jemmy, Jackie, the rabbi, the finance committee, so forth, have put together for next year. And we can see this correctly here, that we are just on an operating basis. So that would be that first column, right? So operating income, expenses, so forth. We are projecting a deficit of about $151,000. Now we think back to last year's budget when we first put that together. This is very similar in the sense I think we were projecting about 121,000. I want to emphasize it's a conservative budget. Jemmy and the finance committee put together a directive to her to make this as conservative as was reasonable. So again, no PPP loan this year. Some large donations that we had previous years. We're probably not going to realize those. Ramped up level of activity. is going to bring more costs. We're assuming we kind of revert back to the pre-COVID cost structure. Income's kind of based on where it was a bit pre-COVID. So that is the challenge. One of the challenges for us going forward is how do we manage ourselves facing a potential deficit of 151,000. And I'll have some more to talk about on that later. The other item, which I think has a greater, for me at least, a greater sense of urgency, are the finances of the cemetery. Right now, we're projecting for next year, I think, what, 54,000 deficit with the cemetery. The rabbi has made some very good observations as far as we want to pull the cemetery budget out of the net operating budget so we can see both of them separated, because the mechanism here for funding any deficits in the cemetery are at the end of the year to withdraw that money from one of the two OJCF cemetery accounts. We have an operating account and we have an endowment. So we balance the cemetery budget each year, either pulling or contributing to that cemetery operating fund at OJCF. And as the rabbi correctly pointed out, he had Jackie run 5 years worth of financials on the cemetery. 5-year average, we draw down about 20,000 a year from that OJCF cemetery operating account. So if we just stay at average, you may have 3 or 4 more years left on that fund until it's exhausted. You have a particularly bad year, you could probably wipe it out in 2. So I think one of the big challenges for the congregation going forward is to get that operating fund up to a level where if you assume a 3 to 5% withdrawal per year, it will cover any potential deficits without eating into the principal of that fund. And that is going to be a main focus for the board and for committees formed by the board to address this issue. As the rabbi said, and we have a sacred obligation to maintain and make sure that cemetery is funded in perpetuity. Next slide. Okay. Okay, so this is kind of the budget operational onlys on this. Let me see, Debbie. Right. Okay, so again, you can see, excuse me while I get my magnifying glass out. Okay, so over on the income side, we've assumed 770,000 roughly on income, and we've broken it out by dues, Yom Kippur pledges, and so forth. And then on the expense side, we've got expenses of 925,000. So the difference is just $155,000 deficit that I'm talking about that we have to deal with. And again, the drivers here are basically increased costs as we ramp up activities. We've had inflation adjustments in here for personnel benefits, a slight increase in salaries for the staff, and operating costs like gas, utilities, and whatnot going up at the current inflation rate. So costs are up, and again, there's no backstop this year with the PPP loan. Okay, next, Jimmy. Next. Okay, so here we have the breakout of the cemetery only. So again, this allows us to focus in on what actually is going on there at the cemetery, as opposed to kind of our net operating budget. And right now, we are looking at roughly a projected deficit of 55,000. So again, not a good situation to be in. I will point out last year we had estimated the deficit to be about 81,000, and I think we're probably going to come in somewhere around 24 or 25,000. But here's something to think about. If there are no funerals at all, basically no sources of revenue over a fiscal year, just our labor costs alone out of the cemetery run about $130,000. So something to think about. Next slide, please. Okay. Again, this kind of summarizes the key budget assumptions that Jemmy and Jackie incorporated into next year's budget. So again, inflationary issues, increased costs as we expand our activities. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Next slide. Just a pie chart here that just looking at income slices for our operations alone. So this does not include the cemetery. Next. Okay, so I guess that's it. So it's going to be a challenging year next year. $155,000 deficit's going to have to be managed. I think the rabbi or Daniel can chime in at some point, but the board is actively forming committees to look at each of these individual segments to see what we can do as far as how do we live within our means here going forward. And that's going to entail probably a long needed debate on some long-term planning issues. What programs do we want? What programs do we want to expand? What programs do we want to scale back on? And so forth. So your board will be addressing these issues as well as the cemetery issues. And we will be back in front of the congregation in January to look at the first 6 months of actuals and see where we're headed. It's going to be a very critical year. We get to play this game another year, and we've got to get things in shape here going forward. That's all I have, Jemmy.
Thank you, Peter.
Mhm.
Amber gave me a question from the chat room.
Yeah.
That it's more for me to answer than you. How many families are getting decreased dues, or what we call adjusted dues?
Yeah,
And about a quarter of our dues-paying families are on some sort of reduced dues or adjusted dues. Question about how many families are on reduced school fees. And remember, it's a very small group who are in the school. So of the school families, I think we have, of maybe, 3 or 4 families asked for adjustments in tuition. Question, are we getting any interest on our bank account? Which, yes, we do have interest on our bank accounts, but I don't know the exact percentage offhand. And also asking how many members are in arrears. And as we're closing out this current fiscal year, it's down to a very small handful, like this many or so, because I do work hard throughout the year to make sure we're communicating with people, as we had the switch over from Hubbareware to SchulCloud and had to make sure people who had a payment method on file for automatic payments, which we really rely on, that people are set up with the payments so we don't lose things in a transition or month to month. The staff really worked hard to make sure all that information was updated and transferred into SchulCloud. Let me see if there's another question. Oh, Margie is asking, why are we not mentioning the need for a new furnace? And then actually it's the whole system, the HVAC, because
You want to add to my source, right?
yeah, do you want me to put a price tag on that? This is partly why we are not down at the shul today, because when it's 97 degrees outside, we don't have air conditioning. You don't want to be in that room with everybody. So there is a poll I'm going to put up for people to
comment, and maybe Daniel can handle this.
Oh yeah, Daniel has something to mention.
Board, we challenged the board to put together a Yom Kippur pledge challenge to the congregation. Maybe Daniel can fill us in on what the results were.
Yes, we, hold on just a second. You got that? Okay, thanks. No, I'm not muted. Great. Yes, the board has seen this budget issue, and we are forming task forces to address specific areas and long-range planning. And in the short range, we're also committing to a challenge grant, or a challenge to the congregation that the board is putting out. Board members have agreed to put out $15,000 as a challenge to the congregation to match gifts to your Yom Kippur appeal this year. If you are giving a new gift to the Yom Kippur appeal, or if you're increasing your gift to the Yom Kippur appeal by 3% or more, the board will match that gift dollar for dollar to multiply your effective generosity to the congregation. Golly, what else should I say about that?
No, that's fine.
You don't need to. You don't need to wait until Yom Kippur to make your pledge, or until we reach out to you. You can, if anyone wants to raise their hand and make a pledge right now. I always throw that out there.
Yeah, so that's a good start. I'm glad.
So shall I put up the poll?
Yeah, let's see. Put up the poll.
Okay, so you should have a poll on your screen asking for a vote to accept the provisional budget as presented, with a mid-year revision and revisiting after Q2, so in early January, to reconvene a half-year meeting to go over the revised budget. And so people are voting. We'll give it a minute. So we're at 90% participation, and I can share the results that the yays have it. So thank you all for that. And I can take your spotlights off now.
All right.
Thank you, Peter. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you. And I just want to again extend my thanks to Jamie, Jackie. The rabbi has brought some very penetrating analysis on not only the budget but the cemetery as well. So that gives me hope here that we will surmount these issues in the coming year. And we'll have the board's full attention, trust me.
So there are a few remaining slides just to go through quickly as we wrap up. So I will go back to, let's see, where did my slideshow just go? Hang on a minute, let me change my screen. Rabbi just commented. Oh, yes. Did you want to say this publicly, Rabbi? I mean, just to me. And we've talked about this before, that 2025 will be the 120th year of our congregation as a congregation, since we were formed in 1905. It will also be the 60th year celebrating our building. So a 6120. And I've talked about this, Mea V'Etzrim is very, very important. A very significant number for us. So that's always kind of been the trajectory of, if we're going to be launching some sort of capital campaign to reinvigorate our systems, reinvigorate our capital needs, that's the time to be aiming for as we celebrate. So let me see if I can get back to, oh goodness, it kind of went back to, there we go. So I just want to share this with you. Many of you are on the mailing list from the Jewish Federation and have heard that there is an upcoming community study that we've been asked to participate in. We will be sharing contact information. It goes to the Cohen Center at Brandeis University. It is not going to the Federation. It's not going anywhere else, but this is an opportunity for, our community to get a much better sense of who we are and what our needs are than the last study, which was done, I think, in 2009, which, if you don't ask the right questions, you don't get the right information out. So our board is pondering certain kinds of questions to submit for consideration. It will be a random study, so it's not like everybody's going to participate. If you have questions about this, I can, welcome to email me and I can help direct you to the answers from Mark Blattner at Federation. This is a funded study. There's no solicitation involved in it whatsoever, but I want to make sure people were aware that that's going on in the community. Coming up, we've got some special events. Many of you are aware that on Sunday, July 10th, we will be returning in person for this year's Harry Nemer Service Awards, and the honoree is our own beloved Cantor Vitel's. You should have, I know, just received the actual invitation in the mail. There were some delays from the printer due to supply issues that we hadn't anticipated, but you can make your reservation online, make your sponsorship online. That's been open for weeks now. Please, we hope to see you fill the room so we can celebrate Cantor Vitel's together. And special guest Michael Allen Harrison will be there. So they say that the deadline is this coming Tuesday, the 28th. I'm sure if you haven't done your tickets yet or haven't made your sponsorship, we can extend that a little bit. So please get online and check that, or call the office to make your reservation. We have a very exciting September coming up. Joey Weisenberg is returning to Portland, returning to Sherry Torah for an Elul-themed concert on September 18th. This is open to the community. It'll be a great opportunity to raise our voices together and fill our souls as we're preparing for the Chagim. So we will be opening ticket sales for that. Seats start as low as $18 per ticket, and there will be various tiered levels based on where seating is in the sanctuary. And there, of course, are sponsorship opportunities available. So please be in touch with me about that. And we happen to have a very special message here. So let me make sure that my video will work and my sound is on. So here we go.
Hi, this is Joey Weisenberg. I'm so excited to have the chance to come out to Shari Torah again and to be with the Portland community, especially in that time before the high holidays. It's going to be so beautiful. I want to say Mazel Tov to Chazan Aaron Vitel's, who is receiving the Harry Nemer Award on July 10th and has been a dear friend of mine for a long time. And again, I just cannot wait to see you all and sing together. It's going to be so beautiful. And see you soon. All right. Bye.
So that's very exciting. I'm assuming since people were clapping that you could see and hear the video. All right, wonderful. So just let's see. And then another special thing to share is that after a lot of applicants, a lot of reviewing, a lot of listening to various versions of Kol Nidre, our Jewish Living leadership team and Rabbi Oren, and with Cantor Batel's input, we have engaged with Rav Naama Levitz Applebaum, who will be joining us from Israel this year to be our soloist for the High Holy Days. So she'll be coming in before the Shabbat, before Rosh Hashanah, and she'll be staying in town the entire time with opportunities to teach, to learn, to sing, to do things together. We are so thrilled that she's coming. And also Brianna Kaplan, who many of you met at Rabbi Oren's installation and at other opportunities at the shul, will be coming in to lead our Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur family services, and will also be staying on through the holidays. So there'll be lots of chances to get to learn and sing with her as well. And I have one more special message I get to share. I was busy. So we'll go back to here and just push the next button.
Shavua Tov to the Sharei Torah Kehila community. My name is Rav Naama Levitz Applebaum. I live in Jerusalem with my husband and 4 children. I'm so excited to be joining Rabbi Oren on the Bima for the upcoming high holidays. It's been a real pleasure to meet and to get to know some of you and a little bit more about your community. And I'm really excited to learn more over the next few months as we prepare together for the Chagim, for the high holidays. I was pleasantly surprised to find out that your dear Cantor Aaron Vitels was a part of your community. We got to learn and sing together at Machon Hadar a few years ago, and I look forward to be able to daven with him again. Mazal Tov on your retirement and on being honored on July 10th with the Harry Nemer Service Award. Mazal Tov, mi Chayil el Chayil. I hope to have the chance to prepare for the high holidays together with you over the next few months and look forward to sharing some songs, nigun, and Torah together. Wishing you a Kaitz Tov, a great summer ahead, and see you soon. Leitraot miYerushalayim.
Yes, so you got a little taste of Rav Naama there. She will be working with Rabbi Oren to craft the Chagim, to craft what they're going to be doing in the time that she's here. And there'll be opportunity before that, I'm sure, to do another Zoom meeting with her so more people can get to know her. And we are excited that she'll be coming into the community. Let's see, okay, so we are at the point now of adjournment, and I couldn't help but put up the cutest picture ever from the Sukkah build last fall. Really quick, I meant to mention that the new memorial board, which was generously underwritten by some congregants, is here. It is installed. There is room on it for many more plaques. So if you've been waiting to order a plaque, a yahrzeit plaque for your loved one, or if we've had them holding on the temporary board, we now have space and we can do some moving around. The price is increasing from $500 to $625 per plaque in July. So be in touch with me if you want to get that reserved in and locked in at the current price. So Daniel, I think it's up to you to put up a motion for adjournment.
I guess, whoops, hold on. So many buttons. There we go. Thank you, Jemmy, and thank you, Rabbi, and Peter, and everyone who's contributed. Amber also, everyone who's contributed to putting this meeting together. I believe we've come to the end of our planned agenda. So I'm calling for. Does anyone have a motion to adjourn? You can make such a motion by clicking on the reaction button and raising your hand, because otherwise
Phil Cohen is raising 2 hands. Barbara Weiland's raising hands. Judy Hoffman's raising hands. There are so many hands.
Yay, we have so many hands. Is there any discussion? Is there other questions and answers that need to be addressed before we close things down? again, you can raise your hand and
I think everybody should do some spirit fingers for Cantor Vitals because he is awesome beyond awesome and we love him. Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything in the chat or any reactions to ask for continuing the meeting. So in that case, I guess we can call this meeting adjourned.
Great. And I have just one more slide to share.
Oh.
And that is, let's see. Oh, it's our little mascot telling us that Shari Torah is your place to be in 5783.
Hi, Tank.
I'm rhyming. I mean, it's a place for Tank too, and I couldn't not put that picture in. So there. So now I invite you all to unmute and talk and let it all hang out. And I apologize for the Zoom bombing earlier. Someone snuck into the waiting, or snuck into the meeting and was doing their best to embarrass us. But thanks to all who came. And what, we can ask them to unmute? Is that right?
Yeah, they should be able to now.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Amber, for being my techie wingman.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And thanks for all the really great messages that you put up from everyone. That was really great. I love that, hearing everybody. They were really nice to hear from the singer and from the people that are coming to visit us. It's great.
So. All right. Well, people can go enjoy the hot, hot, hot weather. Have a nice cool drink. All right. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, everybody who came.
Everyone.
Yes. Have a good afternoon. Rest of your afternoon, evening.